The underestimated human. The Grand Nexus station hung in the void like a colossal metal lotus, its 8 massive piddle-shaped docks extending from a spherical core that pulsed with vibrant energy. The station served as the central hub for 17 spacefaring civilizations, a place where commerce, diplomacy, and entertainment flourished in equal measure. At its heart lay the Crucible, an ancient arena tradition carried forward into the stars, where champions of various species tested their mettle against one another. And now, esteemed patrons of the Crucible, prepare yourselves for tonight's featured exhibition. The announcer's voice, a resonant boom that belonged to Kazthrox, a 4-armed Vesperian with metallic blue skin, echoed through the packed arena. His upper arms gesticulated wildly, while his lower set operated the broadcasting controls. 17,000 spectators from across the galactic arm filled the tiered seating. Some floated in specialized anti-gravity pods, others perched on reinforced platforms designed for their particular anatomies. The lighting pulsed in anticipation, reactive crystals embedded in the walls shifting from cool blue to vibrant crimson. In the gold corner, the terror of the Andromeda Passage, the 3-time Galactic combat champion, weighing in at 472 kilograms of pure muscle, kitten, and fury. VRAXX, the DEVA stating. A massive insectoid creature emerged from a glowing portal at one end of the arena. Standing nearly 3 meters tall on 4 powerful legs, with 2 massive fighting arms ending in serrated pincers, Vrax raised his appendages and clicked his mandibles together in a display of dominance. The kitten plates covering his body gleamed under the spotlights, modified to show ancient battle scars like badges of honor. The crowd erupted in cheers, particularly from the sections populated by fellow Scythians. Several spectators frantically operated betting terminals, placing substantial wagers on their champion. Vrax crushed tiny soft thing. The champion bellowed, his translator device converting his native clicking language into the standardized galactic common. Make good example for soft species. Kazthrox chuckled, all 4 of his hands moving in sequence as he adjusted the audio levels. And in the blue corner, well, this is rather unusual, folks. We have a representative of the species that only achieved faster-than-light travel within the last century. A species many considered too fragile for interstellar competition. The announcer paused dramatically, his voice dropping to a theatrical whisper that nevertheless carried throughout the arena. From the remote planet Earth in the unfashionable western spiral arm of the Milky Way, standing at a mere 170 centimeters in weighing, and I'm being told this is not a translation error, only 68 kilograms, Maya Sigehian, human. A collective gasp rippled through the audience, followed by waves of chittering laughter and derisive hoots. The portal on the opposite side of the arena shimmered, and out stepped a young woman with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore a simple gray jumpsuit with blue piping along the seams, standard United Earth Defense Force training attire, though none of the aliens recognized it as a military uniform. Maya walked calmly to the center platform, her expression neutral as she assessed her surroundings. She stretched her arms and rotated her neck, seemingly oblivious to the mockery echoing around her. "Is this some kind of joke?" called out a bulbous Syntakian diplomat from the VIP section. "Humans have no natural defenses, no exoskeleton, no venom sacs, not even decent muscle density. This is slaughter, not sport." Kazthrox bobbed his elongated head in agreement. For those unfamiliar with humans, allow me to provide some context. These beings evolved on a medium-gravity world with minimal environmental hazards. Their bones are internal and embarrassingly breakable. Their skin tears if you look at it too aggressively. They possess no natural weapons beyond blunt fingernails and ridiculously flat teeth. On the display screens surrounding the arena, diagrams of human anatomy appeared, highlighting what the aliens perceived as evolutionary weaknesses. The betting terminals have just updated, and oh my, the odds are now 785 to 1 against the human. That might be the largest disparity we've seen in over 30 cycles. In the preparation zone adjacent to the arena, Administrator Loxus, a tall, spindly being with translucent skin through which his 3 hearts were visible, approached Maya with obvious concern. "Human competitor, there has been a terrible administrative error," he whispered urgently. "This match was never meant to proceed. Vrax has killed 7 opponents this season alone, and those were from battle-hardened species. Please, accept our formal withdrawal option. There is no shame in—" "I'm good, thanks," Maya interrupted, continuing her warm-up stretches. "Just make sure the medical team is standing by for Vrax. He might need them." Loxus blinked all 3 of his vertical eyelids in succession, his transparent skin flushing pink with confusion. "I don't understand. Are you experiencing translation issues? Perhaps your species processes danger differently." Maya smiled, a small, confident expression that sent an inexplicable chill down Loxus's flexible spine. "No translation issues. I volunteered for this match." Before Loxus could respond, a booming signal indicated the imminent start of combat. With a final puzzled look, the administrator scurried away. Back in the arena, Vrax was performing his pre-fight ritual, smashing his massive pincers together to create sparks that cascaded down his armored body. The crowd roared their approval. According to Crucible regulations, Vrax announced, "This is classified as an exhibition alpha match, which means each competitor is allowed to use natural abilities only. No weapons, no tech enhancements, no outside assistance. Combat continues until submission, incapacitation, or," he paused dramatically, "biological failure." The crowd's noise swelled again, many species calling for blood in their native tongues. Vrax now advancing to center platform for the traditional pre-combat intimidation display. Standard procedure, especially when facing a new species. Educational for everyone. Really. The massive Scythian moved with surprising grace for his size, mandibles clicking rapidly as he circled the human female. Maya remained still, her posture relaxed yet balanced, eyes tracking her opponent's movements. "Look at this," Vrax commented, his voice rising with excitement. "The human isn't even attempting a defensive posture. Is this bravery or simple ignorance of the danger? Could their species lack basic survival instincts? Oh, and there it is, the traditional opening statement." Vrax leaned down until his faceplates were just centimeters from Maya's face. The viscous fluid dripped from his mandibles as he spoke. "Human weak. Too soft. Vrax, make quick end. Be honored to die by champion's claw." Maya's expression remained unchanged. The crowd held its collective breath, various respiratory organs expanding or contracting depending on their species' biology. Then, without warning, Vrax struck a lightning-fast backhand with his left pincer that would have been approved under the intimidation display rules, but would certainly earn him a penalty point. The blow connected with Maya's cheek, sending her skidding 3 meters across the platform. "Oh, an unsanctioned pre-match strike," Vrax exclaimed. "That will cost Vrax, but it hardly matters in such an— Wait, what's happening?" Maya had rolled with the impact and was already on her feet, wiping a small trickle of blood from her lip with her thumb. Rather than appearing afraid or disoriented, she looked annoyed. "That's going to cost you," she said quietly, though the arena's acoustic design carried her words to every spectator. Vrax chittered something that the translator rendered as laughter. Soft thing still standing. Good. More fun for Vrax. The official start signal sounded, a deep resonant tone that vibrated through the arena. Vrax immediately charged forward, both pincers extended for what would surely be a devastating grab-and-crush maneuver, a signature move that had ended countless matches. And here we go. Vrax employing his famous Scythian vice technique right from the start. This could be the shortest match in what it in the name of DHECVENTE in Memuins. Kazthrox's exclamation matched the collective gasp from 17,000 spectators as Maya, the fragile, defenseless human, simply wasn't where Vrax's pincers close. With a fluid movement that seemed impossibly fast, she had ducked beneath the attack, pivoted on her left foot, and now stood behind the momentarily confused champion. Before Vrax could turn, Maya launched herself upward in a jump that defied the station's artificial gravity. Her right hand struck with surgical precision, at a point where Vrax's head connected to his thorax, a neurological junction that even most Scythian medical professionals would have difficulty locating without scanning equipment. Vrax froze mid-turn, his massive form suddenly rigid. Maya landed lightly on her feet and delivered two more rapid strikes, one to a cluster of nerve endings, near what would be the equivalent of a solar plexus in humans, and another to a pressure point between his rear leg joints. The arena fell into stunned silence as the mighty champion wobbled chitinous legs, suddenly unable to support his weight. With glacial slowness, like an ancient tree finally surrendering to gravity, Vrax toppled sideways and crashed to the platform with a resounding boom. 3 seconds. The entire combat had lasted 3 seconds. Maya stood beside her fallen opponent, breathing slightly elevated but otherwise showing no signs of exertion. She knelt briefly to check Vrax's condition, pressing 2 fingers against a specific point on his neck where a major blood vessel pulsed beneath the chitin. "He'll be fine," she announced to no one in particular. Temporary neural disruption. No permanent damage. The silence in the arena stretched to an uncomfortable length. The betting terminals froze, their programming unable to process what had just happened. Medical drones hovered uncertainly at the edges of the platform, their algorithms clearly confused about which competitor to approach. Finally, Kazthrox found his voice, though it emerged as a strangled squeak before he regained his professional composure. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings of all configurations, we have a winner. In what must be the most unexpected outcome in Crucible history, the human competitor, Maya Chen, has defeated champion Vrax in 3 seconds." The silence broke as the crowd erupted, not in cheers or disappointment, but in a chaotic mixture of shocked exclamations, hurried conversations, and the distinctive sound of betting terminals finally processing the improbable outcome. In the administrative box, officials frantically searched databases and made urgent communications to their superiors. Security forces moved toward the arena floor, but maintained a conspicuously cautious distance from the human. Maya simply stood in the center of the platform, waiting patiently as the situation unfolded around her. Her expression remained calm, but those watching the high-definition screens might have noticed the slight upward curve at the corner of her mouth, the barest hint of a satisfied smile. Respect among the stars. The aftermath unfolded like a cascade failure in a reactor core, rapidly, dramatically, and with far-reaching consequences. Security drones formed a perimeter around the arena platform, their weapons conspicuously powered down as they awaited instructions from increasingly panicked administrators. Maya remained at the center of the controversy, maintaining a relaxed posture that somehow appeared more threatening than any aggressive stance could have been. "I'm receiving some rather extraordinary information," Kazthrox announced, his voice pitched higher than normal as his hands frantically sorted through incoming data. "According to records that have, mysteriously just become available, competitor Maya Chen is not the simple Earth tourist our registration files indicated." The main display screens flickered, showing a heavily redacted personnel file. Even with most details blacked out, the United Earth Defense Force insignia was clearly visible in the corner. "Our human competitor appears to be what her species calls a special operations tactical specialist, with expertise in something called xenophysiological combat applications, which, if I'm interpreting this correctly, means she's specifically trained to fight other species." His voice rose in disbelief at the last words. In the administrative box, Central Administrator Pelvox had turned an alarming shade of purple, a sign of extreme stress in Zentakians. "Get the diplomatic corps up here immediately," he bellowed at a subordinate, "and contact Earth's representatives. Tell them." He hesitated, looking down at the calm human standing beside the still unconscious champion. "Tell them we have their operative, and we mean her no harm." Meanwhile, medical personnel had finally approached Vrax, running diagnostic scans over his immobile form. "Remarkable," muttered Chief Medical Officer Trazen, a diminutive Solari whose crystalline skin refracted light in dazzling patterns. "She somehow located and temporarily disabled the exact neural clusters that control motor function, without damaging any vital systems. This isn't random lucky strikes. This is applied knowledge of Scythian physiology that exceeds what most non-Scythians know." Down on the platform, Maya had finally moved, approaching the still active announcer's pickup. "Since I seem to have everyone's attention," she said, her voice echoing throughout the station, "I'd like to clarify a few misconceptions about humans that seem prevalent here." The crowd, which had been buzzing with excited conversation, fell silent again. "First, Earth isn't the benign, hazard-free world you seem to think it is. We evolved on a death world by your classification standards. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, thousands of predators, and terrain ranging from Arctic ice to burning deserts to towering mountains." On the medical platform, Chief Trazen looked up from his examination of Vrax. "That would explain the muscle density and bone structure," he murmured to his colleagues, "like the Corvin species, but without the external indicators." "Second," Maya continued, "humans aren't defenseless. We're persistence predators with remarkable adaptability. What you perceive as weaknesses, our lack of natural armor, our reliance on endurance rather than burst strength, these are evolutionary trade-offs that allowed us to develop in other areas." She gestured toward Vrax. "Your champion relies on overwhelming force. He's powerful, yes, but predictable. When you've spent your evolutionary history being smaller and weaker than your predators, you learn to observe, analyze, and exploit weaknesses. Every species has them." In the diplomatic section, Ambassador Lorena of the Centaurian Alliance leaned toward her aide. "Access the classified cynobiological database," she whispered urgently. "I want everything we have on humans, particularly their military capabilities." Third and most important, Maya's voice hardened slightly. Humanity didn't join the Galactic Council to be mocked, underestimated, or treated as curiosities. We came to be partners and allies. But alliance requires respect. A tense silence followed her words. In the administrative box, Pelvox conferred hurriedly with newly arrived diplomatic staff. After several moments of heated discussion, he adjusted his translator and addressed the arena. "Competitor Chen speaks wisdom," he said, his voice wavering slightly. "The Grand Nexus Station and the Crucible extend formal apologies for any disrespect shown to humanity. This exhibition has been most educational for all present." On the medical platform, Vrax began showing signs of consciousness, his limbs twitching as neural function gradually returned. The medical team stepped back cautiously. "What happened?" The champion's translator rendered his weak clicks. Chief Trazen bent closer. "You lost, champion. The human defeated you." Vrax's compound eyes focused with difficulty. "Not possible. Human too soft." "Perhaps," Trazen replied thoughtfully. "We've been defining soft incorrectly." The main doors to the arena slid open, revealing a delegation of Nexus officials led by a tall, distinguished human male in a formal diplomatic uniform adorned with subtle insignia. "Ambassador Williams," Pelvox greeted, his voice carrying a note of relief. "We were just about to contact you regarding your operative." Ambassador Samuel Williams surveyed the scene with practiced composure, though those familiar with human expressions might have detected the ghost of amusement in his eyes. "Specialist Chen," he called out, "I see you've been making friends." Maya straightened slightly, a gesture that those in the know would recognize as a military, at-ease posture. "Just a cultural exchange, sir. promoting interspecies understanding. The ambassador nodded solemnly, though a slight twitch at the corner of his mouth betrayed him. Most educational, I'm sure. He turned to address Administrator Pelvox. I believe we had scheduled discussions about increasing human participation in Nexus activities next week, but perhaps we should move those conversations forward. Pelvox nodded rapidly, all three of his vertical eyelids blinking in sequence, a Zentakian expression of eager agreement. Most wise, Ambassador. Perhaps we could adjourn to the diplomatic chambers. I believe the council representatives would be very interested in discussing expanded cooperation. As the officials moved toward the exit, Maya finally approached Vrax, who had managed to rise to a semi-seated position, supported by medical staff. Good match, she said simply, extending her hand in the human gesture of respect. The massive Scythian stared at the offered appendage for a long moment, compound eyes flickering as he processed this strange custom. Finally, with movements still slightly uncoordinated, he extended a pincer, carefully with the serrated edges turned away, and gently closed it around her hand. Human. Strong. He managed. Not like stories say. Vrax. Respect. Maya nodded. That's all we ask. Respect doesn't require fear, just understanding. The arena, which had been designed to amplify the sounds of combat and victory celebrations, now carried this quiet exchange to every spectator. The silence that followed felt different from the shocked hush earlier, contemplative rather than stunned. In the days that followed, footage of the 3-second match spread across the galactic information networks at faster-than-light speeds. Commentary and analysis dominated discussion forums on 17 worlds. Military strategists revised threat assessments. Diplomatic corps adjusted negotiation protocols. Merchants reconsidered trade agreements. 1 month later, when the Crucible announced the formation of a new human division with Maya Chen as its first instructor, applications flooded in from species that had previously dismissed humans as irrelevant curiosities. The waiting list quickly stretched to over 2 standard years. In the Grand Nexus Station's most exclusive lounge, Ambassador Williams shared a quiet drink with Maya, who had been formally reassigned as the first human combat liaison to the Nexus. Not exactly how we planned to introduce humanity's capabilities to the galactic community, Williams remarked, but I can't argue with the results. The Council approved our full membership proposal this morning. Unanimous vote. Maya smiled slightly. Sometimes a practical demonstration is worth 1,000 diplomatic notes. Indeed. The ambassador raised his glass in a toast to unexpected teaching moments. And to being underestimated, Maya added, just that one time. Across the station, in the Scythian Medical Recovery Center, Vrax was entertaining a group of young initiates from his homeworld. Gone was the arrogant champion who had dismissed humans as soft things. In his place was a thoughtful veteran, his mandibles clicking softly as he recounted his experience. Remember this, he told his attentive audience. Appearance is deception. Size not mean strength. Armor not mean power. He tapped his thorax where Maya's precise strikes had temporarily severed his neural connections. Knowledge is greatest weapon. Respect is greatest protection. The initiates chittered their understanding, their worldview subtly but permanently altered. And throughout the stars, as the story spread from world to world, species that had evolved along very different paths began to look at humans with new eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, not with fear, but with something more valuable: respect. In the vast tapestry of galactic civilization, humanity had found its thread at last. Part 3. Echoes of Strength. 6 standard months after what galactic media had dubbed the 3-second revelation, the diplomatic landscape had shifted dramatically. The Grand Nexus Station, once merely a trading hub and entertainment center, had become the focal point for a new era of interspecies relations. In a converted cargo bay now serving as a training facility, Maya Chen moved with fluid precision as she demonstrated a defensive technique to a class of 27 students representing 11 different species. The room had been specially modified with adjustable gravity zones to accommodate beings evolved for different planetary conditions. The principle remains consistent regardless of your physiological structure, Maya explained, gesturing to a holographic display showing the nervous systems of various species. Every sentient being has vulnerable points, junctions where signals travel between major systems. The key is understanding your opponent's biology well enough to identify those points, even in combat conditions. A Mralian student, jellyfish-like with translucent tentacles and 3 brains visible through its bell-shaped head, pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that the translator rendered as a question. But Instructor Chen, my species has distributed neural networks with redundant pathways. We evolved in deep oceans where predators frequently removed portions of our anatomy. Maya smiled. Excellent observation, Glimmersong. You've identified why Mralians are notably difficult opponents in close combat. However, she gestured, and a hologram zoomed in on the base of a Mralian's central bell. Your species still requires coordinated rhythmic contractions to move efficiently. The syncytial pacemaker here regulates those contractions. Temporary disruption would significantly impair mobility without causing permanent harm. Glimmersong's bioluminescence flickered in what the more experienced students recognized as surprised respect. From the observation deck above, Ambassador Williams watched with quiet satisfaction alongside a delegation of Galactic Council representatives. Among them was High Commander Zextrol of the Scythian Imperium, Vrax's direct superior and a legendary warrior in his own right. Your specialist's techniques are unsettling, the massive Scythian admitted, his translator struggling to convey the complex mix of admiration and unease in his clicking speech. In 3 standard cycles, she has mastered the vulnerable physiology of 11 species. Williams nodded politely. Specialist Chen has a gift for xenophysiology, certainly, but her class isn't about creating better ways to hurt others. It's about understanding. The same knowledge that allows you to disable an opponent can be used to heal them. Below, Maya was now working with a Vesperian student who was struggling to adapt a technique for his 4-armed anatomy. The Galactic Defense Council meets tomorrow. Zextrol clicked, changing the subject abruptly. The Drakari Collective has been increasingly aggressive at the Outer Rim. 3 mining outposts have gone silent. Williams kept his expression neutral, though he recognized the opening for what it was. A test. We've reviewed the intelligence reports. Concerning, but not yet definitive. The collective has always feared direct confrontation with the established powers, Zextrol continued. But now they speak openly of humanity's softness. They call you the weak link in our alliance. A slight smile crossed William's face. Do they now? Interesting. Across the station in the Security Operations Center, Chief Security Officer Trellix studied the latest sensor readings with growing concern. The Zentakian's purple skin had paled to a worried lavender as he expanded 3 displays simultaneously. Confirm these readings, he ordered his team. Subspace distortions at all primary approach vectors. That can't be right. A junior officer's voice rose with alarm. Sir, multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Configurations match Drakari warcraft. How many? Trellix demanded, already activating the station's defense protocols. The officer's voice dropped to a horrified whisper. 27 capital ships, sir. It's an invasion fleet. Throughout the station, alarm systems activated. In corridors and gathering spaces, beings of all species reacted with varying degrees of panic as emergency containment measures engage. In the training facility, Maya's students looked up in confusion as red alert indicators pulsed along the walls. Maya herself went perfectly still for a moment, head tilted slightly as she processed the tactical implications of the alarm pattern. Class dismissed, she said calmly. Return to your assigned emergency stations. As her students filed out, Ambassador Williams and the delegation arrived at the training room entrance. The ambassador's expression was grim. "Drakari invasion fleet," he said without preamble. 27 ships. They've positioned themselves to blockade all escape vectors. Maya nodded once, already shifting mentally from instructor to tactical specialist. Objective: unknown, but their communication channels are broadcasting one message on repeat in all galactic languages. William's expression darkened. It translates roughly to "surrender the station," or "we reduce it to atoms." High Commander Zextrol clicked his mandibles in fury. "Cowards. They strike while our defense fleet is deployed at the Centaurian border dispute. The station's shields will hold for approximately 6 hours under concentrated bombardment." Williams continued, his tone measured. "Evacuation is impossible with their blockade formation." Maya's eyes narrowed slightly. "They've been monitoring us. They waited until the station was hosting the diplomatic delegation. 17 species representatives all in one place. A hostage situation," Williams confirmed. In the central control hub, Administrator Pelvox faced the main communication screen where a Drakari commander, reptilian with iridescent scales, and a cranial crest that flared with aggression, delivered his ultimatum. "The Grand Nexus station will surrender control to the Drakari Collective," the commander hissed, his forked tongue flicking between sharp teeth. "Your defensive capabilities are insufficient. Your reinforcements are too far away. You have 1 standard hour to comply, or we open fire." Pelvox's 3 hearts raced with stress as he struggled to maintain diplomatic composure. "This is an outrageous violation of Galactic Council neutrality statutes. The station hosts diplomatic delegations from 17 worlds." The Drakari commander's crest flattened in what translated as mockery. "Precisely why it makes such a valuable acquisition. 1 hour, Administrator. No extensions." As the screen went dark, Pelvox turned to find Maya Chen and Ambassador Williams had entered the control hub, along with several council representatives. "They're exploiting the humans' presence," one Centaurian diplomat whispered loudly enough to be heard. "They believe the station is vulnerable with so many humans aboard." Maya stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Administrator, I'd like permission to transmit a message to the Drakari command ship." Pelvox blinked in confusion. What message could possibly help? "They've made their demands clear." "Just 1 sentence," Maya replied calmly, "and a visual feed of the training facility." The ambassador's eyes widened slightly as he realized what she intended. After a brief hesitation, he nodded. "I think we should allow Specialist Chen to proceed." Minutes later, Maya stood alone in the center of the training facility, facing a transmission camera. Behind her, the holographic displays showed detailed anatomical diagrams of Drakari physiology, with specific neural clusters and pressure points highlighted in red. When the connection to the Drakari command ship established, Maya simply smiled and said 7 words. "We've been studying your species too, quite thoroughly." The camera panned slowly across the anatomical displays, lingering on the detailed annotations about Drakari vulnerable points and the most efficient disabling techniques for their unique reptilian nervous system. Then the transmission cut.